So you just watched the Witcher series on Netflix, and now you want to know if The Witcher 3 is worth playing in 2022. Well, this is the video for you. If you were like me, you just finished Season 2 of The Witcher and still have that itch for a little more Witcher lore. The first place you turn to is The Witcher 3, but you wonder if it still holds up to today's standards. Well, for the short answer, that's a big old yes. For the longer answer, let me break some things down for you. Assuming story is what you're seeking, this game surely provides. The Witcher provides you with a deep and immersive story experience. Even the side quests provide you with some juicy lore. I find myself going out of my way to chase down unknown encounters, as you will likely run into characters and situations you will not forget. I can recount multiple occasions within my first 10 hours of gameplay where a side quest had me just as captivated as the main storyline. To help aid the story, the developers did an amazing job at making the bustling cities and bleak countryside feel alive. From citizens making hilarious quips to the common folk belittling Geralt for being a witcher and a mutant, it really makes it feel like you're in Geralt's boots. Now, graphically, I'm honestly really impressed on how well it has held its merit. Without googling how old the game is, you surely wouldn't guess that it's a 7-year-old game. I'm not going to lie, but if this game came out today, I still would be impressed by the visual display that CD Projekt Red has managed to put on. From the way nature feels alive in this game, as the trees and grass blow in the wind, to the dark and dingy caves, the environment really is something to look at. I can remember I was walking through the swamps, weeds were blowing and the mist covered the land, and in the distance I could see monsters rooting through the soil. It really made the world feel believable. Now, while there are definitely still some visual bugs I have encountered throughout my playthrough, they haven't been really that serious. Just get a load of this guy, swinging at absolutely nothing. Alright, now that I've rambled on long enough about how the game looks, let's get into some basic mechanics, starting at the difficulty levels. In The Witcher, you can experience multiple different playstyles depending on what you choose. Picking just the story will give you a nice and simple playthrough if you're new to RPGs or just looking for that story fix. Whereas Deathmarch and Blood and Broken Bones, it will challenge you and force you to pay attention to monsters' weaknesses and attack habits. Weaknesses, you might ask? Yeah, unlike me, monsters in the game have very specific weaknesses, from the oils you put on your blade to the signs Geralt is able to use. The harder the mode you choose, the more you will need to pay attention to this. For the sake of the game though, on easy, you can focus this mechanic, however, it won't be as important as most monsters are able to be defeated without them. The oils you put on your blade do provide a massive damage boost to that specific enemy type though, so it is fairly important to pay attention to. As you progress, you'll be able to find and buy even better versions of the oils, so it'll make your life substantially easier along the way. To help aid you in the tougher battles, there's also potions and decoctions, but you need to watch your usage of these as each potion adds toxicity, so you better be using the right potions at the right time. Now, in terms of healing, on the easier difficulties, you were able to meditate out of combat to regenerate health, but on the harder modes, you will need to rely on food items and potions to heal you. To know what signs, potions, and oils to use on the enemies, the game provides you with a bestiary. The bestiary is a handy tool and a pretty wicked game mechanic. As you find books and encounter more enemies throughout the world, they will be added into it. The bestiary gives a brief description of the enemies, as well as its category type and weaknesses. I find myself frequently using it as a reference tool before most fights. That brings us to the gear Geralt is able to equip. As a staple in Witcher lore, Geralt uses two different sword types: a normal steel weapon for attacking humans, and a silver blade for killing all of the other big bad monsters. As you roam around the world and loot absolutely everything in sight, you will come across many different swords that each have their own stat buffs. Some swords even have rune slots that you are able to equip, boosting certain stats or abilities. You will also encounter 3 different types of armor, that being light, medium, or heavy. Choosing which one of these to use is totally up to you and your playstyle. For instance, I chose to go light armor, and I use a light attack dodge build. With all of these choices, I feel the game really lets you play the way you would like to. There are a few different rarities that you will encounter, being Master, Magic, Relic, and Witcher gear. The best gear that I have used, I have obtained through the crafting system. The crafting system isn't as deep as something you would find in an MMO, but I would still say it's one of the more important things to pay attention to. Throughout the game, you will buy, find, and unlock blueprints for various craftable gear and weapons, the best of those being Witcher gear. The components are found in just about anything looted, from simple sacks on the ground to the heap of annihilated enemies at your feet. You were not limited to just crafting gear either. You were able to craft potions, bombs, and oils from monster parts and all of the other junk that will surely aid you in your future encounters. So if I can give you any advice at all, it's to loot everything. As far as actual combat goes, I find it extremely engaging. Geralt has access to swords, signs, crossbows, potions, and decoctions. While it took me a little while to figure out what to use and when, once I did, it all fit nicely in for some fluid and tactical fights. Now the swordplay in The Witcher can be a touch repetitive, but the flair they added to it really balances that out. From slicing monsters right in half to slow motion kill shots, it definitely adds some excitement to each battle. Depending on your playstyle you choose, from light attack dodge build to a heavy armor parrying build, you definitely have some options on how to approach your fights. Tie that in with Geralt's signs and you have a recipe for some fun. Geralt can use 5 different signs, Yarden being a trap spell that slows enemies down, Quen that puts a protective shield around you, Igni is a fire blast that has a potential to light your foes on fire, Axii that muddles Geralt's foes' minds and you can stun them, and Ard, a powerful blast of air comparable to the Fusrada from Skyrim. As I mentioned before, each monster type has its own weakness. Tie all of those signs in with some bombs to stun and deal damage, each encounter will surely feel unique. Now when it comes to where the game shows its age, there's honestly a very small list. That's why I think this game is still very playable, if not a must play in 2022, if you have yet to play it. The movement takes a little bit to adjust to, but once you figure it out, you won't notice it. I know I definitely don't notice it, as I almost forgot to mention it in this review. But the major things I have noticed being a little bit dodgy is the horseback riding in the quest marker line. But realistically, with the ability to fast travel from signpost to signpost, it really becomes a very minor detail in this massive and fun Witcher lore-rich game. This game is so ripe with lore, it'll blow your little socks off. The story in The Witcher 3 is the real meat and potatoes, and the true definition of the cat's pajamas, if you will. With 3 different endings, multiple different mini-quest endings that do affect some details in the game, and the unreal voice acting of every encounter that you come across, you will lose yourself in this world. Naturally, I can't go into great detail about the story because, well, spoilers, but I can tell you that the game gives you plenty of options to play how you want to. From choosing to spare monsters and people to killing them in cold blood, your experience will most likely be a unique one. Don't forget, Geralt also has Axii to influence people's mind to avoid combat entirely if you choose to upgrade it in your skills tab. Whoa, hey, slow down there. Skills tab? Ah, yes. It wouldn't be an RPG without a leveling system, would it? And well, good news for you, there is one. While it's not massive like something you would see in one of the 19 ports of Skyrim, it is more than enough to make every level you gain feel rewarding. Not only because gear is level based, but also because some of the passive abilities you are able to pick really change how you fight. This is where you can really choose your playstyle. From 4 different categories to pick from, combat, signs, alchemy in general, you can tweak your playstyle with ease. You can also pair up the right perks with the right mutagen to give you a little extra stat bonus. This system really gave me a fix for that min-maxing I have grown to love in RPGs over the years. So let's round all of this up. After my second and still ongoing playthrough in 2022, hashtag self-plug, check out my Twitch at Tendio2 to potentially catch me playing The Witcher or various other RPGs. I can say with confidence that The Witcher 3 is very much worth playing in 2022. I mean, there is a reason it won Game of Year back in 2015, and if it came out this year, it would most likely win again. I hope you enjoyed my breakdown of this game, but I'm curious what were your thoughts of the game if you have played it. Let me know in the comments, the good and the bad. I'd like to know what other people's opinion are. If I don't see you next time, I'll see you when I see you. Take care.